Welcome to another episode of Investing in Intellectual Property with Dave. Today we have a very special guest with us. This gentleman is an all-world football player who has multiple NIL deals and recently just made a huge announcement on where he will be continuing his college football career at next year. Please help me welcome Cam Martinez. How's it going, Cam?
It's good. How you doing?
And I'm doing pretty good. Again, thank you for coming on and kind of talking to me a little bit about your audience. Talking to me a little bit about your story, your journey. I think the audience will. I know I was talking to you, before we started this. You have definitely an interesting journey, and I think the audience will take a lot out of kind of your path traveled, and so I'm excited to talk to you a little bit about things. I know we were supposed to do this maybe last week, but you was kind of going through it a lot with trying to decide what team you're going to transfer to, and you recently announced Boston College. So I guess maybe starting off with that, how stressful was that process?
For me, first and foremost, I want to say thank you for having me on the show. Excited to talk to you today. And then answering the question too. For me, I think it wasn't as stressful as people may think it was. I kind of going through this process another time again, and went through this in high school, and I was obviously young. There's a lot of stuff I didn't know. Everything that I knew now, I just carried over into this process now, and I kind of just made it a lot easier for myself. Obviously, there were some stressful times. The first couple of days, fall was blowing up, so that was kind of just a little different to handle. But I feel like I had a good kind of handle on things during this whole process. And like I said, I think that just comes from experience, which made it a lot, easier for me.
I was going to say, it seems like having that experience of really going through the process from high school to college will really help out. It seems like maybe the early signing period was, I think maybe last Wednesday or something like that. And I want to say you made it. Did you make it, I guess, after the signing period or last? Okay.
After the signing period. Yeah, I know there's two different signing periods too. I think that might have just been official just for the high schoolers.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I still got to figure out when I'm supposed to technically sign too. So I'm figure that out.
Okay, so and that's interesting because I know a lot of times you actually, it's different between a verbal commitment and then you actually signing. So with you, maybe it seems like at this point just having a verbal commitment to Boston College, does teams still hit you up trying to persuade you even at this point just because you're not signed?
Yeah, I will say that it's funny you said that because it was a couple of days ago a team did hit me up, and I won't share the team's name.
Right.
Yeah, that kind of surprised me too, and it's kind of funny because that happened in my process when I was in high school as well. Some schools hit me up, while being committed, and actually, a couple of days before signing that. But no, for me though, I'm, like I said, I'm 100%, solid on my decision. And like I said, I'm all on board. So I think if anybody were to came through or, kind of communicate with me, I'd respectfully have to tell them no.
Right. No, and that's big. And now checking out the guy from IU, the offensive lineman, who I'm not sure, and kind of we'll get off to this in a little bit, but I'm not sure if he was a transfer or he was a grad transfer. But he initially committed to Colorado, and then maybe like a week later, he decided to go to Oregon. You would think at least that I understand the high school students flipping like that, but you would think somebody who's been through the process and is a little bit more seasoned, if they give a commitment at this point, they'll stand by it, as you just said you plan on doing. But I guess it's still one of those things where some schools can make a last minute push to get you. So you were telling me beforehand that you were going over as a grad transfer. Can you maybe explain for the audience who maybe does not know the difference between a grad transfer compared to just a regular transfer, who may be leaving their sophomore year or whatever and going to another school?
Yeah, so really a regular transfer, I think you can transfer anytime before you graduate, get your degree. Now all your credits may not transfer, so I would say you might lose just a couple classes, but you can make that up, obviously, because you're going to be being younger. You have a lot more time in school to be able to do some things, right? Being a grad transfer, it's pretty much just after you get your degree. You kind of get that final year. I guess you could say it's a fifth year. You know, for me, I have 2 years of eligibility because of COVID, and then plus I redshirted. So, yeah, being this grad year, like I said, just gives you an extra year of football, and then also, you know, you're starting, you know, graduate school at whatever school you're at too. There's really no different. I mean, it's not really not a lot different than being a regular transfer to a grad transfer, but that I would say that's like the biggest differences. You have your degree, and you're definitely a lot older too. So, I think that's something as well.
Okay. And it seems like just kind of being older. I know we were talking about just before, you know, offline that being a graduate transfer, you're finishing a degree at that school. So you're not, again, I'm assuming that with a regular transfer, they get a chance to, since we're on Christmas break, they get a chance to kind of start the next semester at that school. I'm just assuming that maybe that's incorrect, but it seems like with a graduate transfer, you're still completing your degree at your old school and kind of, you know, finishing up, and then the next year you are going into the new school. But it seems like as just a veteran player, a veteran student athlete at this point, that's not too big of a deal because, like you said, you kind of been through the spring ball and the winter conditioning 3 or 4 times, so you kind of know what to expect. So that maybe is not as big for you as compared to somebody coming in as a high school athlete or maybe transferring after their first year.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest difference too, I would say, is you know, like the biggest difference for me is I have 6 classes left to be able to graduate. So if I were able to say I was able to have all my credits done, or, you know, took all my classes and I was able to graduate, you know, by the winter time, then I would still been about set to go to Boston College and stuff like that. It's just like to where where I'm at, I have 1 more semester left, so it just would be easier to get that done. And obviously when I'm getting that done, I can't do anything, you know, at Boston College yet, technically. So,
Right.
like
Okay. No, yeah. I'll go ahead.
No, so that, I mean, that was like pretty much the biggest thing with me, with having to kind of do this last semester and then being able to move on because of just where I'm at with, you know. Now, if I were to early enroll my freshman year, then I would have been able to graduate a little bit earlier. So then I would probably have it out the way and things like that. But that's like one of the biggest things too. So, I mean, I guess you could technically be a grad transfer whenever you're really, you know, you get your degree and whenever you're done graduating. And like I said, that's different for everybody. You know,
Okay.
as you're a youngin, you can, I mean, you're good to go, you know, regardless, you know.
Right, for sure. No, and that makes perfect sense. So you're saying, hey, it's just because kind of where you at in your degree path. If you would have finished this semester, then you would have been able to start that next semester at Boston College. But because you have those 6 remaining classes to take, you have to finish those, and then which will take you this year, and then you're able to kind of move over. So okay, now that makes sense. So how close was it? Obviously, we know that you decided with Boston College, but you had a number of other offers from big time schools: Mississippi State, Cal, Florida, West Virginia. I guess in a 2-part question, how close was it to, or what would have been your second choice? And then what, I guess, what's pushed it over the top for you with Boston College?
Yeah, so I think, you know, honestly, there was 3 schools that was really neck and neck to me was, you know, Boston College and Cincinnati and Mississippi State were up there as well. Those, I mean, honestly, if you really look at each one of those schools, it was really the same situation. You know, Grad, obviously, a lot of it was a little different because different programs and stuff, but it was really all the same situation for me. They wanted me to play the same position. You know, the depth chart and safeties, you know, was very limited and low. They needed some help. Obviously, they needed some couple people to help turn around the program. I mean, all the situation was very similar. I think what stuck out to me with Boston College was just, I mean, I think maybe so the head coach now was my assistant coach, or he's the assistant coach he was the assistant coach at Ohio State. He was a defensive coordinator while he's recruiting me. And so before I end up enrolling into Ohio State, he ended up taking the head coach job to Boston College.
So you never played with them?
Never played with him.
Okay.
Recruiting me, but my favorite recruiter, I mean, he's one of the biggest reasons why I was going to Ohio State and even playing defense, you know, because I played quarterback. But, I mean, he really saw the vision in me to be a defensive player, and I believed it. So, like I said, really good relationship. I mean, we kind of picked up where we left off when we started talking again during this whole process, come around the second time. I would say that was really the biggest leap from them, compared to the other two schools, just with him and his relationship. The relationship I have with him, and I think he's a really good coach, and he's got a good track record of developing players, developing people. Was in the NFL, for a few times or at a time before he was in college or coaching college. So, just I think really if you want to say, what was the difference, I think it was Jeff Hafley.
Right. So do you think with Jeff Hafley, and that's interesting, him being a recruiter and then defense coordinator and then moving on and going to Boston College, was he one of the first coaches that hit you up when you made that decision that you were going to transfer?
Yeah. I mean, it was actually funny. So it was one of the assistant coaches, and that was also another fun fact too. One of the assistant coaches he coaches at Boston College, but he coached me at Ohio State my sophomore year. Okay. And that in my sophomore year, I want to say I had a lot of success, and I credit him to that. So he ended up calling me. This was an assistant coach. He called me. I didn't know that he was coaching at Boston College at the time, because I remember when he had left us, he took a high school job for a year. So he called me, and I'm thinking he just wanted to chop up. He heard I was maybe entering. And then he told me he was at Boston College and everything. He told me the situation. They would love to have me up there. And then right after that, I was just like, yeah, I mean, I'd definitely be interested. And then Coach Hafley had called me. So it was kind of cool. It's kind of getting, a little bit of reunion, a little bit here,
right,
stuff like that. So that was nice.
So, and you talked about, again, being a quarterback in high school. Is it any plans for you to play maybe both ways? Was that any thought or did you guys talk about that at all? Because, again, in high school, junior year, had over 2,500 yards rushing. Senior year, 2,100 yards and 47 touchdowns. So, I mean, again, obviously, especially going back to our hometown of Muskegon, he was that guy on offense. So, did they, and obviously, I'm sure that Coach Hafley, he kind of knew that as in recruiting you. Is that something that you guys talked about, or was just like, no, we're just going to kind of focus on defense?
Yeah, so we did talk about it. So the biggest thing for me is, defense first and foremost. So I'll be playing some free safety, which is a lot different than what I was playing at Ohio State. I was playing nickel, which is kind of like an inside corner. So it's a little bit different. So, but the biggest thing for me though is really just to get comfortable on the defensive side first. That's kind of been our plans. And then once I feel like I'm comfortable hitting the ground running on defense, then we can do some offensive stuff. Put me in some offensive packages, and then there's also kick and punt return as well. So obviously that's the plan going in there. But like I said, that all just starts with, how the defense is going and, how my development is there. And then, like I said, we can start adding some more things in for sure.
Gotcha. Well, at what point, and then we get off there, because I do want to talk about the Ohio State situation a little bit. I know you mentioned that I think your sophomore year, you actually had a lot of success. At what point during this past season, I'm assuming that as you're going through the season, and it seems like, I think at the beginning it was like, okay, you're projected to be a starter. At what point during the season, as it starts to unfold, that you kind of said to yourself, "Man, I think I may end up transferring"?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this year didn't really go the way I expected it to go at all. Going into fall camp was good. Like I said, being a starter, and then then you get hurt. And once you get hurt, especially at that place, when you get hurt, obviously, it's kind of hard to kind of maintain your spot when you're hurt on the sideline. You get a lot of young guys. We had a good backup from me, and he came in and, he played great. So those times that I was hurt, he was over there and he was, having a lot of success. And that's just part of the business, that's the nature of the business. What you get yourself into, it's what you sign up for. And I think I would say probably a little after the midway point of the season, probably like we have 4 games left, I kind of knew, what I wanted to do. Like I said, just because you see everything and being hurt and you just see who kind of jumps up, and especially a young guy, you kind of got to know, what the future plans are. So at that point, like I said, this becomes business. Was no bad blood. Like I said, things just happen, at the end of the day. those coaches have a family to feed, and I have a family to feed too. So I get whatever they have to do. So that's why we just decided the best decision for me and my family was just to enter the portal and, kind of just get a fresh start, especially after, being there for 4 years.
Right. No, yeah, and we was talking about, beforehand of just kind of with the bowl games coming up, and these are really starting to get ramped up here late December with the bowl games, and how a lot of athletes, whether it's a starter or somebody who's a good player and they're looking to transfer, hop in a portal and kind of go to another team. And yeah, that's just kind of part of the business, it seems like these days. But then I kind of going back to your freshman year, it seems like freshman year, you redshirted, and then I think it was your redshirt freshman year. What was that, 2021, when you played in all 13 games, and it seems like you had a lot of success. And I'm not sure, was it your sophomore year when you had the pick six? Excuse me,
Yeah.
Where's Tulsa? Was that your sophomore year or your redshirt freshman year?
Yeah, it was the redshirt freshman year.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much, I guess you want to say. It was the second game of the season. It was like my first game officially in action was that game. So I think it was a good coming out party, for that year.
Yeah, for sure. And then it seems like, man, like you said, you played good early on. I think in the Rose Bowl had a number of tackles versus Utah. How would you describe those early years? I know kind of later on with maybe the injuries and stuff like that. And again, you understand the business, which is good, because it seems like a lot of people, for whatever reason, just can't grasp that business aspect of it. Where, hey, man, you get hurt and say the next guy he comes in and he's playing well, and okay, he just so happened to be a younger guy, and you kind of understand the business point of it. Again, not saying that you're not feeling some type of way at all, but you just understand the business point of it and how that kind of looks going forward. But I guess early on, and it seems like the whole time at Ohio State, you had a lot of good years and a lot of good times. So I guess how would you describe that, the early days at Ohio State, coming up, again, playing and just building the camaraderie with those guys? And again, obviously you guys had a lot of success early on.
Yeah, I mean, I loved it. I loved every bit of it, honestly. Even the hard times. I was a quarterback coming in. First day of fall camp, I'm at cornerback. It's a lot different. And the first day of fall camp, I got Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, Jamison Williams, Jackson Smith. I got these guys in front of me, and I'm just like, this is what I got to cover. So I say those names because it's just like, every day I was getting better. No matter where I was at with my development, where I was at playing time wise, whatever. Like, I was getting better every day, because the next year, fast forward, you got Marvin Harrison, Mecca Buka. You got guys coming in like that, first rounders that you're going up against every day. So I love that part of it because I knew I was always getting better. And especially during the young times too, because like you said, that's when you're first trying to enhance your skills, know your game, know your flaws and strengths. And so I was really big on that, in the early on. And like I said, it was all fun. There was really no bad blood that I had between, OSU. I mean, especially early on. I mean, I was having a lot of fun. That's why I said my redshirt freshman year, might have been my best year, honestly, because, like I said, you're just being young and you're being on that team, and, I had to play a big role as part of that team, kind of unexpectedly too. So I think having that too was a good learning experience and just prepped me for, the coming years now too. Like I said, you get the business side of it, being hurt and things like that. So it's kind of like you understand why you might take the back seat, at times, because I was in the same position. One of the reasons why I was playing when I was young and stuff like that was kind of a similar situation. Guys went hurt, you had to be ready. And, if you're playing really good football, I mean, they're not going to take you out. So.
Right.
Kind of just a similar situation. And these injuries that I had this year, too, kind of carry over from last year as well, because I was battling a bad ankle injury throughout the season last year. I missed the game, tried to come back too early. This is a lot of things I didn't handle right in that situation. So that's why I kind of like this bowl season now. Kind of, it's different for me, but I'm not in bowl practice or anything like that. So I really get a chance to just, get my body healthy and, get it ready for time coming.
No, and I was going to say, it seems like you said, with the bowl practices and not really participating in those, and having a little minor injuries that you're still getting over. I would imagine that going into BC, you're going to be 100% healthy and kind of ready to go, the first day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, No, that's the biggest thing. Yeah, 100% healthy. I'm feeling good right now. Taking a little break, obviously, but yeah, obviously after New Year's and stuff like that, it's gonna be really time to get to work. Like I said, I'm still trying to win, and there's a lot of places I still have to go to. So the work and everything, the focus, none of that would change at all. And like you said, just making sure I'm doing everything I can to be full go and healthy when I get there.
Right. No, for sure. Absolutely. So I have to ask you this question. What would you say is the biggest difference between, obviously, outside of the obvious answer, which is the athletes are bigger, faster, and stronger, between high school and college ball? Because I always said, as I went on and was at Michigan State, and we kind of talked about it here early on, it's just more of a business. When you're talking about high school, you're talking about kind of playing with guys that you grew up with. It's all the love for the love of the game and just having fun and winning with your brothers in the trenches with your brothers. But in college, I'm not saying that you're not going to develop long-lasting relationships because you are, and you're not going to have fun because you are. But it just seems like it's a lot more of a business, at least the way I look at it, as far as the biggest difference between high school ball and college ball. What would you say is the biggest difference from your perspective?
I think I would say it's the business part. I was talking to my brother about this the other day. You would think it kind of became, or this college, college football scene now is kind of turned into like a mini NFL. If you think at a point in time, I was, talking to my brother too. I was just like, I feel like a free agent here in the portal instead of, what I'm saying, unless I'm a high school recruit. And that's why I say it just became more business like. Obviously, players being able to make a name for themselves and making money off of that. Now you got the NIL effect, so it's kind of just like, you're offering players, certain spot on your team, kind of paying you a little bit differently than when it would be in the past. I think you kind of hit it on the head just with the business. Like, I think that's the biggest thing for me as well.
Okay. Well, and I think that's a good segue into the whole NIL thing, man. Looking back, and that has only been around for a short period of time. But shoot, back when I was playing in 2008 and 9, 10, whatever the case may be, this NIL thing wasn't a thing. So I always tell this story of I used to go to Applebee's, and one day I'm kind of wearing my gear, and I'm in Applebee's, and the manager of the Applebee's in East Lansing came up like, "Oh, you're on the team," and I'm like, "Yeah." So then he ended up, and I had like a steak and some mashed potatoes, which in college, man, that's what. Yeah, some steak and mashed potatoes. That's everything. And he ended up picking up the bill. He like, man, when it was time to bring the bill up, the server came over, was like, hey, the owner picked it up, or the manager picked it up. Okay. The general manager of the store picked it up, and I'm like, hey, I'm out, deuces. But again, that technically was like a violation because you weren't supposed to do that. But these days, it's a completely different ball game. I guess starting out with the NIL, how much of a factor was the NIL space with Boston College? Because you hear, you hear a lot about these situations where, in transfers, whether it's a grad transfer or just a regular transfer, where, they're almost going to where the biggest bag is, so to speak. And obviously they know they're going to play and maybe, start or whatever the case may be. But then it just comes down to a function of who has the biggest bag that they're going to be able to pay me. So how big was the NIL in your decision to go to Boston College or commit to Boston College?
No, I mean, I think it was. You definitely. It's so really. It's not a big factor, but it kind of is. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, it's like you said, it's business at the end of the day. So you're not gonna say, okay, look, man, my coach, hey, we have a great relationship and all those things. So obviously that's a big part of it as well. But to not, conduct good business, it almost would be a doing you a disservice if you're not at least inquiring about those things when they're out there.
And that's the biggest thing, and that's what I was gonna piggyback on too, is because, like, for me, you got to understand everybody has value, and when it becomes a business part, everybody has value, and everybody's gonna have different, some higher, some lower. It's all gonna be different. But I mean, obviously, I think if you look at yourself in the mirror and then kind of talk with people, and I have an agent, and I think my family's really good, supporting me and things like that, and giving me advice. Everybody has a value, and you want to make sure you're getting the value you deserve. and obviously a lot of it can be different, right? And as far as I say, like the NIL piece kind of playing a factor and kind of not, there's a lot of schools where I didn't even take business to, or, kind of didn't really, you know, intrigue that much because, I just wasn't really, I felt like it wasn't a good fit for me. But now on the NIL side of it, it would have been a really great situation. So it's kind of like you got to look at it and just see. I tried to look at it last, but it's like I said, some of you always got to keep it in the back of your head because it could be a really good situation. And then the value they want for you and where they have you at in their market, could be lower than what you would think. And
Sure.
you kind of, that's where it's all about getting your value. I think it's another tool that I like too on the business side that's used to show your worth and then show your value too, and show how extra schools are as well. So, for me, like I said, play the factor goes hand in hand. I would say, I want to be able to make sure I was in a position too where I didn't really have anything to worry about. I'm able to take care of things and do things that I want to do. And like I said, I feel like Boston College. I mean, obviously, all around, I feel like it was a no-brainer. I think they offered me opportunity of a lifetime that I just couldn't pass up.
Absolutely. And going to your point about value, I'm not sure if you heard of On3.
Mm-hmm.
But I was kind of I followed them a little bit, and they have you as a top 100 transfer prospect. So obviously you have value there, being one of the top 100 transfers in the country. And I'm not sure how much you pay attention to this stuff, but they had your NIL valuation at 117K. Now that doesn't necessarily mean maybe that's what you're getting, but at least based on their algorithm and their proprietary software, that's what they believe that you can command in the market. And then we know that we'll talk about at least the ones that I was able to see, the Vita Coco, which is a coconut water, what you have been on commercials on. You got the City Apartments at 1870 Society. Can you maybe kind of talk a little bit about okay, just starting with the Vita Coco, how did that partnership come to be, and is that one of the companies that you're kind of still in partnership with?
Yeah. I'm actually, I would say that's the main one. I've been pretty busy with them. Haven't really done any other deals or during that time. It was really just with them. And yeah, I think this is definitely a relationship that's going to keep on going forward. I had a lot of success with them, or it was a good turnout working with them. So really, just one of my buddies at Texas, Ryan Watts. They're in the CFP now. He's starting corner over there. He hit me up. He just like Vita Coco's been wanting the OSU player, and he actually played at OSU here before, so really cool buddy of mine. He just said he said he sent them my name and stuff, and I was like, yeah, I'm all aboard with it. And they reached back out to me, or they end up reaching out to me, and like I said, they sent me a few drinks, just showed me how to, what I had to do, take pictures and things like that. And like I said, we've been having a really good turnout with it, with that deal. So I mean, that's how I came up about. Yeah, I mean, it's been going really good.
Nice. So then what about, and I'm not sure if you're still kind of doing things with them, at least I maybe saw something maybe on the social at some point with, I guess both the City Apartments and 1870 Society. Can you maybe, I'm assuming that the City Apartments is an apartment complex or apartment, real estate kind of company. Is that what that is? And maybe kind of what was, I guess, and obviously Vita Coco, it makes sense to kind of promote the product being the coconut water, but I guess what was like the City Apartments looking for when they're kind of looking at, I guess, a partnership through the NIL space?
Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of just like if you think of it, ranges within like a car.
Okay, I got you.
Things like that. You drive it around and stuff about it. You're not really. I don't think you're really paying for it. I mean, obviously you got taxes and things like that, but you're not really paying for it. Kind of the same thing with apartments, except I mean they'll give you a little bit. They can either cut you on a deal. As part of IL contract, or maybe you don't have to pay anything. But that place, I lived there my sophomore year, or kind of towards the end of my sophomore year. And this was kind of when NIL was still new. But I lived there, and then I loved it there, so decided to move into a bigger place, bigger apartment there at that complex. And obviously we were able to talk. My agent was able to talk to finagle a deal. Was able to get with them through that. So that's kind of like how those apartment complexes work there. So sad that deal will be coming to an end because it was it's in Columbus.
Yeah, okay, no, that makes sense. I was going to say, I felt like as I was looking at it, it seemed like it was something that was specific to I guess Columbus, Ohio, but I guess I wasn't sure if they had something else in that Boston area or whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope maybe they could. I mean, never know with these management companies and stuff like that. They're pretty, worldwide. So, maybe it could be potential future deal, moving forward, or see how it all plays out. But yeah, no, like I said, I think I was able to get a lot of good things out of Ohio State, some good deals and stuff. And then you were mentioning the collective and stuff too. The collective is kind of like, or the 1870, it's a collective where, I think every university and football program has collectives, and that's where the big donors come in. I think they donate a lot of money and things like that, and that's really the biggest way of how players end up, of how players make money and things like that. They sign through the collective. It's for certain events, things I have to deal with that. So for 1870, it was pretty much what I had to do. I just had to show up to some certain event, signing cards, or signing posters, things like that, football camps, just little things like that. Ways for me, what I like about collectives is it's ways to help the community out and stuff like that too. I'm really big on trying to give back, and I love trying to give back to the community. So collectives do a good job of being able to do that. And that's what the 1870 was. I think a lot of people don't know what a collective could be. But
yeah, man. And again, Darian Harris, who he played at Michigan State, part of that most winningest class at Michigan State. I think I stopped playing football right before he started, but now he's the director of NIL, and I had him on maybe a month or so ago, and he explained what the collective was, where it's separate from the university, so to speak, but it kind of raises money, like you said, from donors and stuff, to be able to pay the university athletes. And that's not just football, obviously. That can be basketball and whatever the case may be. But like you said, all the schools have a collective that they typically who is raising money and kind of doing deals and partnerships, partnering with the athletes. But it'll be interesting, because I think, I'm not sure if you heard of this, where NCAA, I forget the president's name, but he just recently proposed legislation where the school would be able to pay the athletes directly without having to go through that collective. So it'll be interesting if that goes through. I'm sure to change things up a lot. So I'm sure that the collective will still be around, or whatever the case may be, but the school, like, you will be able to do a deal directly with the university where they will be able to pay you. There's some other benefits to it as well that I thought was interesting in terms of them being able to pay a lot of money to the athletes. But I think that'll be a game changer if that does go through. So I'm not sure if you heard of that. It just recently came out like a month or so ago.
Yeah, I have. I mean, I think it would be a game changer for sure too. The biggest thing I say for what could be different is, I know like the stipend checks, cost of checks are different than the NIL. So I think that's something that's cool too, because it's they're separate from each other. But that's also 2 checks you get, every month. I know, because I know the cost of attendance comes from the school, but like you said though, what you have said though, it just seems like it'd be a game changer and make it a lot easier than maybe what's going on right now. Sure.
No, absolutely. No, you're absolutely right about that. And I look at a lot of, obviously the top NIL, at least from what I'm seeing, is Bronny James and Shedeur Sanders over there in Colorado. And I check out a lot more of like the Shedeur Sanders and kind of what he's doing. And I think from a merchandise perspective, and I would imagine that he has a team behind him to be able to do this, because he's, obviously a college student, having to deal with the school aspect of it as well as football. And again, right before I finish that story, that's one of the things that Darian Harris, who's the director of NIL at Michigan State, assistant athletic director, that's what he was saying, as far as, hey man, before athletes coming in and they just kind of want the bag. I think maybe it was at Ohio State where the athletic director had came on and saying these kids, they want money just to come on a recruiting visit these days, which I think is crazy. But I guess Darian Harris was saying that, hey, at the end of the day, man, you got to make sure you're putting the right things out there on your social. You also have to kind of ball out on the field. So people are not paying you NIL deals for the most part if you are not balling out. But again, if you are kind of rapping or just not portraying yourself in the right way on your social media, which is a big thing, whether it's LinkedIn or Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and those things, if you're, just profanity-laced rants and kind of posting just reckless things, then that's going to affect your ability to make to get NIL deals. So is that something that you've seen to kind of be true as you've navigated this space in real time?
Yeah. I mean, that's really real. Obviously, it's always good to make money, and it's always good to have money and things like that. But you also want to use the money and have the money for the right things as well. I think it's being young and us being young, and maybe getting things that you probably wouldn't imagine getting at this type of age. I think it comes with a lot of responsibility and to be able to be smart and stuff like that. And I know that, like, I have a really good supporting cast. My mom, and, my dad, my stepdad, they all stay on me pretty hard, and same with my brother and sister. So, and I'm the youngest. So coming from that, like I said, I was a pretty good listener and want to do things the right way, and they helped me and keep me on track with that too.
No, for sure. And that's good to have that good support system, especially when you're even kind of going through this process, whether it's recruiting or NIL deals, being able to bounce it off of your circle that they're solid and they want the best for you. And as opposed to, a lot of, unfortunately, student athletes don't have that same, I guess, setup. And it'd be a lot more interesting because I know Michigan just recently, they kind of got into the space where in high school you can get paid or get NIL deals. So like you said, man, as you're young, you're maybe not as mature and can kind of do some things that is not in the best interest as far as those NIL deals. So it'll be interesting to see how that kind of plays out. But I guess going back to the Shador thing, he has kind of his, I guess, brand. And again, I'm a big brand person. So especially when you're talking about being an intellectual property attorney and kind of deal with brands, whether it's big brands, multi-billion-dollar brands, whether it's startup companies, whether it's technology companies, somebody who is selling a product or services. That's what I deal with on a day-to-day basis. And I think we all are brands, whether or not we want to acknowledge that. And if you put out positivity and whatever, you can kind of make your brand whatever it is. If you put out that on your social media, then that's what is going to be associated with your brand. If it's finances and you're putting out financial stuff, that's going to be associated with your brand. But if you're putting out stupid stuff and reckless stuff, again, whether you want to admit it or not, that's going to be associated with your brand also. So I guess with the Shador thing, I think he has done maybe a really good job at, he has his brand, he has his logo, much like a beast mode or something like that. And he's, putting that on apparel and, selling that, using his social media to his advantage to be able to sell that to different people, do pop-up shops and autograph signings. And he's even, it seems like, kind of done some things where he's licensed the actual, Colorado, trademark or that logo or whatnot from the university to be able to put on his product to be able to sell as well. I guess maybe number one, why don't you think more athletes do that? And number two, for you personally, is that something that you think about? Because again, it's a lot to think about. And I would imagine that you have to have a team to do this because you're doing, you're still a student. You're still trying to, be a great football player, but trying in terms of maximizing that opportunity to try to have maybe a logo, have, whatever your brand is, and, maybe get a trademark on that and be able to kind of really monetize of that. So I guess maybe what's your thoughts on it? I know I threw a lot at you with that one.
No, you good. No, I think, my thoughts on it is, you're all for that. If you have a great idea, if you have something that you can market on and, market on with yourself, I say go for it, go full steam ahead and do it. For me, it's definitely been stuff we've been talking about, some things that I came up with, some, brands, for me, that I would want to do, I want to work on, that's in the works right now too. But I think the biggest thing for a lot of people can be, I think you got to look at, how you are financial wise too. Because everybody's different. Like you said, we talk about the NIL space, and this being more business, but, like I said, there's value for, everybody. That's, the value for everybody is different. When you got a guy like Shador, he's one of the top guys. I guess you could have, somebody like me. I'm not all the way up there, what I'm saying, but I mean, probably be a little bit lower than that. So it's different values, what I'm saying, as far as status wise and things like that too. And, first thing you had said, or you had mentioned earlier too, you want to, one of the biggest things is to go out there and ball too. You get this big deal or, whatever you get, first thing to go, then you got to make plays. Because that's what they're paying you for, at the end of the day. So for me, I think, because I could just, explain from just my personal experiences. For me, like, after my sophomore year, we had, brand, and, we've been having it in the works, but I just haven't been wanting to, like, kind of release it yet, or kind of been doing a lot of things with it. It's been holding off a little bit because, I kind of haven't had the year, that I expected to have. And then this year, obviously getting hurt, things like that. So kind of want to put a pause on things. Because like I said, first and foremost is, I'm here to play football. So, obviously the success that comes from that, I think comes around everywhere else too. So, once I put that into place, I think, and like I said, this just talks after this whole process has been over, so like that, there's been talks, but kind of just kicking off my brand and doing some things now. I think financial wise too, it would make a lot more sense too. So, kind of like I said, those three things are really what I base off and look for. I think a lot of people have too, a lot of athletes do. Because like I said, just from what I've heard from athletes saying too, it's kind of around the same, same context. So.
No, yeah, for sure. And again, just sitting back as a professional on it, I'm like, man, it's, especially like you said, to the extent that you are, balling out or you're playing, and doing well, it's another way that you can kind of maximize your earning potential. And like I said, just being in it, especially on a trademark basis where you kind of get that brand protected, and now you're kind of selling merch and stuff like that, man. It seems like that can be big, especially, social media following. That obviously, you would think that at least a portion of those support you back home, your hometown. It seems like they would support you as well, but also in your college town, you think that you'll be able to get a lot of support with that as well.
Yeah.
And I know I was talking to Greg Jones, who, recently I played with him at Michigan State, All-American linebacker, won a Super Bowl with the New York Giants. And NIL wasn't around when we were playing again, but I was asking him, hey, what do I think? What do he think his NIL evaluation would be, or what he thought he would have earned during this time at Michigan State as a superstar athlete in NIL money? And he was like, man, it would have probably been multiple six figures, if not seven, or high six figures, if not seven. And I just kind of thinking long term, just from a business standpoint, or because again, we know football isn't forever, and just being able to kind of take that money and invest it, whatever your investment vehicle is, if it's businesses, if it's stocks, if it's real estate, whatever the case may be, but being able to get that money and, you're going through it in real time, but and you come from, good stock. So it's not like you necessarily need, say, $1 million to live because you're on scholarship, you're eating for free. A lot of this stuff is set up for you already, and to the point where, man, you can invest a lot of that money to hopefully set you up good once your playing days are over with. So, I think that it can be a big game changer just for student athletes, I think, because there's a lot of money that's being thrown out from an NIL perspective. So it's good that you at least considering it or processing it and kind of looking to do some deals or do some things with relate to branding.
Yeah. Like you said, you hit it on the money too. For me, like I love it. I do love it. I think it's just a good way for student athletes to get paid and to make money, especially off of their names. You think about how big, this brand of college football is. So it's good for us to kind of just get a little bit of that too as well. But no, like I said, what you had said too is, for me, obviously there's things that I like to do and, I enjoy doing. And, obviously with having some good financial support, I can be able to do those things. But I'm still not losing sight of the bigger picture too. At the end of the day, football doesn't last forever, and it's going to be a time, where you got to hang your cleats up. And, just for myself and, the future wealth I want to create, it's good to save a lot of that money.
Sure.
What good is it if I get, a lump sum of good money and then I just waste it all away? And that's why I said it's good to have the support guests that I do have. They've been around this game, especially my stepdad's been around this game before. I think they do a lot of things the right way. So just for them to kind of help me and to be in my corner, making sure I'm handling my money right, investing in doing just, like I said, all the good things I need to be doing. And like I said, that first thing, and then obviously I can still focus on, being a football player at the end of the day. So that's why I say it's good about having that supporting cast, because there's a lot of things I don't have to worry about. Obviously, one of the things I want to do, but it's less worry, knowing that if I'm doing it the right way and you got people that's willing to help you for it as well.
Yeah, no, definitely is, man. It's almost a must these days because you guys are kind of dealing with a lot of student athletes and keeping the main thing that being football in school. And I think just being able to get a good team around you and take advantage of some of these other opportunities is key. Man, I got one last question before I get you out of here. I think just, I'm 33 years old and I just kind of going through life. And I think it's a few major decisions that you have to make that's going to really kind of set you up in life in a good way, or to kind of take you to that next level, or can maybe set you back. I was talking to a gentleman. I have maybe some real estate in the Lansing area, and one of the contractors, my contractors that I use, was calling me and telling me about his son who playing football, and I want to say this guy's in like middle school or something, so he's still kind of pretty young. But he was saying how whatever school district, it's a smaller school district in that kind of that Lansing area, and maybe he's talking to some coaches or some recruits or some friends or whatnot, but they were trying to tell him to hey man, your son is probably not, it's a low likely that he's going to get recruited at least by the big schools, regardless how good he is, as a result of the the size of the school that he's currently at and really not playing any competition and stuff like that. And I think one of the great decisions that you made and you and your family have made up until this point in time is just kind of understanding that and going from Muskegon Catholic to Muskegon. And I want to kind of delve off into that. I want to kind of dive off into that as far as, because again, for people who don't know, Muskegon Catholic Central is a smaller school in the Muskegon area. And we have 8 divisions in football. I'm not sure if they're Division 8 or 7, but they are, okay, so they're like at the lowest. And that's, again, typically if the school doesn't have that many people in it, just by extension, great athletes are going to be, the competition and the great athletes that you're going to see is going to be lower as well. And, compared to a school like Muskegon, who they just won the state finals in football, they're playing against the top talent in the state of Michigan and maybe some other states. What made you initially come to the conclusion of, and I'm killing it at MCC or Muskegon Catholic Central, but I think I have to transfer if I want to kind of make my dreams and goals a reality?
Yeah, I think it kind of just goes alongside with, I think you always want to put yourself in positions to where you feel like you're getting the best and also getting the best out of yourself. I love Muskegon Catholic and everything that it was for me. And if there was a situation where I, could have stayed, I probably would have stayed. But it just couldn't offer everything that I needed there. Like I said, everybody's different, and that's just how I felt. And I felt like to be able to maximize my abilities and showcase my abilities and to get the best out of myself would have been Muskegon. And I think maybe it's a little bit biased too, because obviously with my stepdad being there, being a basketball coach and being an athletic director, and, I have a lot of family that works there. And, I know I grew up, watching that program, and, I grew up being around it anyway. So I think just seeing that, you kind of know that, and especially with Division 8 football too, you look at that Division 8 compared to Division 3. You see a lot of things that make sense. And I feel like I said, that was one of those decisions too. That was a no-brainer. I think, granted, I wish I would have went there earlier. Maybe the start of high school. But like I said, I think part of me was kind of scared a little bit too. I wasn't ready to leave Catholic, but I think it all happened in the right timing and stuff. And like I said, my parents and everything, they don't really pressure me or force me to do things that I don't want to do. So, that decision just kind of came from within me. After my sophomore year, I just felt like, it's time for a change, and, I need to do something to where, I could take my game to the next level. And that was the ultimate reason why I ended up going to Muskegon, and I feel like it's worked out ever since, for sure.
And did you see the immediate benefit of that when you transferred over, or did it take a year or so before, I guess, schools start to call and things like that?
It took a year, because especially being at that, a lot of people thought I was good, but a lot of people didn't really know how good I would have been at that higher level, because being at Catholic, I think it was really shifted after our first game against Warrendale. So I think I ended up scoring like 5 touchdowns and rushed for like 300 yards or something like that. And I just remember how we were getting a lot of like hate, and even like some coaches or schools just didn't know how they felt about me because they didn't really see me play. But the community also didn't think that I could really hang with the big dogs. So I mean, it was a lot of pressure riding on that first game. But I think really after that first game was when people knew, and even the recruiting process, like it started to ramp up a lot too after that season. So I think it's just waiting for a lot of people just had to, wait and see, or was just waiting to see.
Okay. Oh yeah, and then it seemed like you got a chance to. Obviously, you're doing great things, being able to go to Ohio State and now Boston College. But it seems like you're able to, also see and talk to other people who have done it at a high level. We talked earlier about Sean Thoreau, who won Mr. Basketball. He was a great football player, and I still think he could have been in the NFL or football as well. But he went on to Division I. You had KP, who obviously did amazing things at Khalil Pimpton, who did amazing things at Central Michigan, and played for the Giants and still active at NFL community. You have Anthony Brad, who was at the Hawks. So you're getting a chance to see some of these high-profile athletes do great things, and I would imagine that's has helped you out, just having those people that you can see and not only see but talk to.
Yeah, I mean, I told y'all, me being the youngest in the family, I would think, even with just that community and the football community with all of us, I'm the youngest one too in that situation as well. I'm the one that's being able to watch everybody do it all first, and then now I'm just kind of falling in line. So being able just to sit back and watch and growing up and doing that as well. I mean, obviously, like I said, my dad coached a lot of players and coached a lot of talented players, so I was able to see that as well. You see what's good, and you also see what's bad. You kind of, you just learn from that. All those guys too are very, it's all family there too. It's like a brotherhood within itself. I graduated from any advice and all that stuff. Like I said, I got to talk with them, or if I got anything to ask with them, they'll answer it 100%. They'll be 100% honest with me. And it's nothing but love at the end of the day. Like I said, you was talking about KP. I was talking to KP, I think a couple weeks ago. Unexpectedly did a song, and we just was chopping it up for, about an hour. So that's just the type of people you're dealing with, and, it's good to have that. And that's why I say I think it's better for me because I'm younger, because I'm able to see it more, and see how it's been done. So.
And one day you're going to be the OG of the athletes coming up.
Man, I'm already feeling like an OG a little bit after I'm talking about these youngins and all that stuff. They, people call me old, and I'm about to go into my 5th year. And I'm trying to, I don't know if it hasn't really hit me yet, but I know it will soon. So.
Oh, for sure. Man, just 2 really quick questions. Well, one quick question, and then I want to get your thoughts on just advice that you maybe would give to upcoming athletes as they're kind of navigating this space, especially with the NIL. But before actually giving your comments on that, what would you like to do? I know, again, you're still young and have time to figure it out. After like the playing days are over with, because I know typically athletes go into either broadcasting, it seems like football coaching or some type of front office position. Is that something that you want to do once your playing days are over with, or do you just want to get out and maybe get off into business or something else that you may always wanted to do?
Yeah, I think I figured out I don't want to coach. I don't think I want to coach or do anything like that. So no, I mean, obviously I'll continue to be a fan of the game, or maybe if there's some ways I could be involved in it, maybe give that a shot. But no, I mean, I would see my, first goal is, NFL first and foremost, get to that. And after that, I want to be a counselor. I want to be like a high school counselor.
Nice.
Yeah, I kind of want to work. I think I want to work within the school, do things like that. Like I said, my stepdad's athletic director. And my aunt's actually a high school counselor. So I have some family that's in the school system, and I chop it up with them and talk to them about their jobs and what they do, and it seems like they enjoy what they do, and it definitely interested me. So that's something that I kind of look for, moving forward, and then also want to invest a lot and kind of do things with real estate, stuff like that. And that's kind of what I want to put my money away for now, and what we've kind of been talking about and plans on doing too. Now just to get a head start on it. But yeah, that's really the plans that I have kind of after football would be done.
Nice. Nice. No, it seems like you definitely got some good plans, and I'm sure you'll be successful with at all of them. So I guess kind of giving your comments to athletes are coming up, whether it's in high school or even college, because again, you've been in college for a number of years, kind of navigating the waters. I guess what advice would you give to them? Whether it's with, I guess, just the whole process, playing time, maybe transferring, NIL. I'm not sure if that's something you have thought about, or if you have given kind of similar words of wisdom to, again, high school students that look up to you. But I guess what would you say to, I guess, those athletes who are maybe kind of trying to navigate the waters uh, and make sure they're kind of taking everything into consideration that they need to take into consideration.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing, I can say is I think you have to understand that your story is going to be different than everybody else. I think you have to understand that first and foremost. You can't look at anybody else and see what they have or, what's going on for them. You just got to worry about yourself, at first. Because that's really going to, it's a you decision at the end of the day. And I feel like the more you're selfish with it, I think the more that kind of helps. And then, like I said, understand, because it's going to be hard. I'm a representation from it, being at Ohio State, you're thinking at the highest of highs. And, especially after my sophomore year, a lot of stuff was looking up and taking the next step moving forward. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to ever kind of reset how I wanted to. Like I said, bumps in the road comes up, injuries, maybe, I had like 3 coaching changes. So, I mean, that kind of can play a factor. And then 2, then I say all that to say, moving forward, a lot of that times it was tough, but then now where I'm at, I feel like it was all worth it. And I'm excited to get up to Boston College. I love the decision I made. And like I said, I feel like it was an opportunity of a lifetime. So, a lot of things I feel like I wouldn't able to get or wouldn't been able to receive an opportunity of a lifetime like that if, like I said, I didn't go through the struggles. I didn't go through some of the things that I went through. So, and I realized that I had realized early though that my story was not the same as somebody else's. So the more I just kept focusing on myself, and even when things got tough, how to embrace those tough moments. At the end of the day, I'm still standing here, and like I said, I'm in a great situation, for me and my family. So I think when you understand that your situation is different, and you just keep the main thing, I feel like a lot of success is going to come out of it for sure. And patience is big too. You always got to be patient. Everybody wants stuff fast, and I do too. I want the results fast. I want answers fast, but it's never gonna come at your time. It's always God's timing. So, and I feel like he doesn't mess it up. I mean, just from my experiences, he doesn't mess it up. So being patient is big as well.
Nice. Well, I mean, I agree 100% with everything that you just said, especially the patience part and God's timing. And so, hey, I thought that was good words of wisdom to the up and coming players, student athletes. Again, thank you for this opportunity, giving me some time. I know you have the BC game coming up that you're looking to watch, see what them boys end up doing here in a little bit. I definitely think the audience will get something out of this. And man, I obviously I'll continue to follow you as I've always been doing, just from being from my hometown. And hey, thanks again for the interview.
No, I appreciate you. Appreciate you having me on too. And I really enjoyed talking to you for this hour. Yeah. Now I'm about to go watch these Eagles play. Hopefully we can get the dub.
Sure. And with that being said, hey, audience, until next time, we are out.